Hi there. Today we want to talk a little bit about you crush the presentation. Where do we go from here? How many times have you had a great meeting, great conversation, and then it comes down to next steps? You know, you're recapping the session, you're plotting out the milestones to come, and you've got to figure out, you know, is this business that's viable for our organization? Can we deliver? You know, are we the right fit? And also, what do we need to do to win this deal? Now, some of the seeds for that very discussion talk track need to be planted within the session that you're having. So as a part of the presentation, as a part of some of the discussions that lead up to the next steps, you've got to make sure that you uncover, you know, what are the critical milestones? You know, when do they need to or plan to make a decision? Who has to review that? Who will ultimately sign off on the deal structure? You know, what needs do they have? I mean, does their legal team need to review contracts? How proactive can we be? Also, you know, what other solutions might they be looking at, investigating? You know, what does that process look like to them? Because we've got to understand that, look, you know, customers are going to give us an opportunity to present, but that by no means means that they're going to hand us the business. We've got to make sure that we understand what does the decision-making process look like, who are the other decision makers and stakeholders, is it viable for us to get access to them, and offering, you know, hey, the presentation went well today, we appreciate the time, any feedback that you can provide, are there other folks that should be privy to this information? You've got to control the controllables. We talk about that all the time in sales, you know, making sure that you control what you have control over. Well, in this case, you control the presentation, but what else you control is what resources are you going to bring to bear from within inside your organization? What type of control are you going to take over steering this deal into the right direction? Because the last thing that you want is you deliver. Maybe you deliver a presentation, maybe you put out a deal structure, and then they shoot it to bits inside. You rely on the people that you've presented to sell it internally. That's not their job, that's yours. So you lose control that way, or they take it to a competitor and they undercut you. So that's why it's so important when you're compiling this presentation and compiling your recap and your next steps, that you're making sure to call out some of those unique investments and values. Maybe there's some resources that you can bring to bear that your competitors can't. The other thing too that you want to make sure you don't do is you don't want to obviously play your entire hand right out of the gate. I mean, you know, you typically want to make sure that you're planning in your mind a few different offers that might make sense in this scenario. Certainly you want to agree as a team, or if it's just you figuring this out, but you want to figure out what is the best foot to put forward that also leaves you some ability to fall back. If you're securing incentives and discounting, certainly do that, but have a mid-step. Be able to, you know, you've got a rack rate, you've got what you have approved as an offer, and then somewhere in here you've got, okay, this is what I'm going to make as my first offer. Furthermore, you've got to be thinking about what are the other people and resources, maybe investments that you can bring to the table that are going to be part of the discussion. Where I've personally seen these deals go awry is when other factors are out of your control that you could have had control over. And what I mean by that is controlling the narrative, controlling the next steps in the dialogue, making sure that all the right people on both sides, or all sides, frankly, because you might have other vendors, other partners that are involved in the discussion, making sure that you understand who are all the players. You can't have anybody hiding in the shadows. You can't have any unknown or unseen forces, because believe me, those are the types of things that can get you from a timeline perspective, from a people that need to weigh in perspective. You know, does this need to go to the board? Who's going to sign this deal? You can't have any gotcha moments, because unfortunately, typically gotcha moments will hop out anyway. But if you can control as many of those going in as humanly possible, that's going to set you up with the best probability of success. Remember, we always talk about probability and controlling what you can control from a selling perspective. So the more you do to enhance your probability of success, the better off you all are.